what a Wednesday. It's Rumor and Innuendo. I'm Dominic D'Angelo of adfreeshows.com, SEScoops.com, and OneTrueSportTV.com. But I'm here, as usual, today with Robert Karpelis, WD Creative _ish. Robert, does it feel like a Wednesday to you? That Labor Day has thrown me off greatly.
It has completely thrown me off. Yesterday I went through, I thought it was 3 different days yesterday. At one point I thought it was Monday. At one point I thought it was Thursday. Don't ask me why. And then eventually I realized and settled in it was a Tuesday. We had a ton of stuff to talk about yesterday. We have a ton of stuff to talk about today. We're both in pastels for some reason.
What's the deal?
This is an odd day. Usually I'm in a one of my shirts available at ProWrestlingTees.com, the Creative-ish Studios. But today, I gotta step out at some point today. I have a parent-teacher meeting conference deal, so I want to make sure that I look slightly presentable. And wearing a kayfabe shirt to one of those parent-teacher conferences didn't feel super appropriate, but I did find out in one that I had yesterday with my daughter's math teacher, she, not only a wrestling fan, her and her husband went on the Jericho cruise.
What?
Yeah.
Really? Wow.
So I kept my opinions about Chris Jericho very, very quiet because I want my daughter to do well in class.
I love Chris.
There was a version of Chris Jericho that was one of my all-time favorites, top 5 all-time favorites. But in what's going to be kind of a recurring theme for this episode, sometimes it's challenging to separate the art from the artist. And in the wrestling world, the wrestling sphere, the wrestling ecosystem, you're kind of trusting that the person that you are putting out there is going to be able to fulfill that role. And historically, some guys that entered into the wrestling business were not on the up and up. You know, it's a carny business. It was a carny business. It's no longer a carny business to some extent.
Yes.
There's plenty of folks out there that still love the carny aspect of it, but generally speaking, most of the larger wrestling organizations out there aren't presenting this as legitimate sport. They're not outright lying to the audience. This is entertainment, like any other form of entertainment that people ingest and enjoy and love. But the historics of it is the whole reason there's a dark side of the ring. You know, our good friend Evan, friend of the show, like, how he makes his bread and butter for it's the only reason most of you know what Vice is as a channel is because you're watching Dark Side of the Ring and you're hearing about these boyhood idols that you had the toys of. They were on your pajamas, they were on your ice cream bars, and you look back now and go, oh, these men were monsters.
Well, yeah, Robert, I mean, you set it up here. It's we got to talk some Hulk Hogan today.
Brother. Let me tell you something, brother.
Hey, dude.
By the way, just a quick peek behind the curtain, because you're going to see me drinking out of my my coffee mug here. This is a special pre-taped episode of Rumor and Innuendo. I had a conflict, and usually Dom's not available in the morning to do a pre-tape on a day where I'm not going to be there. Today it worked out, so we are recording this at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The reason why I'm pointing that out is if something catastrophic happens, hopefully not, between 9 and 12:30, I don't want them to start the show and be like, why aren't they talking about how the WWE blimp that they used to fly around arenas crashed?
What happened?
Remember that blimp?
What happened? Did they
remember the WWF blimp?
I don't remember the blimp at all.
They had a it was an arena blimp. It used to fly around in the arena, and they would drop little like pieces of paper that you could redeem for like t-shirts and whatever, and it would be branded like WWF Finch Stridex or something like that. I remember I went to a show and like one of those little pieces of paper flickered down, and people fought for it like it was a bread line, and this was their last opportunity to eat to stave off starvation.
Sounds like wrestling fans to me.
It sounds like wrestling fans, but look, there's nothing we love more than wrestling fans, and there's nothing we love more than Hulk Hogan. Changed my mind, Dom.
Okay, let's see what we can do. Well, starting off, hey, this is some positive news for the Hulkster. He was on Impaulisve with Logan Paul, and he mentioned that he signed an extension with WWE. I signed a 5-year deal. I'm 71 years old in a few weeks. I signed a 5-year deal for the licensing and merchandise stuff and ambassador stuff. Dude, He didn't say
Wait,
dude.
was that your Hogan impression?
That was my Hogan impression.
Spot on. It's like he was there. It's like you were about to sue Gawker.
That's right. That's right.
You are wearing yellow. You've got the ridiculous mustache.
You know,
I can see
and
where
I'm
people are
bald.
gonna and hey, he's not bald, man. He's got the hair. He just wears the bandana because it's fashionable.
That's it. That's it. But so signed a 5-year deal. I guess we should add the other aspect onto this of what he said in the.
We'll
Do you want
touch
to
on
go
the
to
5-year
this?
deal for
Okay.
We'll do the business side first. We'll do the adult conversation first, and not the adult conversations that Hogan tends to get into. It makes complete sense for WWE to lock Hulk Hogan down for 5 years. They are not, just put this right out there, the intent here is not we're going to use Terry Bollea for the next 5 years. The idea here is the Hulk Hogan IP is something that they want to be able to continue to profit off of. So if you want Hulk Hogan in the video games, you want all those Hulk Hogan action figures, the Hulk Hogan t-shirts, the Hulk Hogan Halloween costumes for those kids that want to go dress as their favorite Republican National Convention figures, like, you have that there. It makes complete sense because WWE wants to make sure they can use the historical talent. And as you're going into Netflix and the Peacock deal and all that, you want to be able to celebrate and embrace the stars of the past. I remember the challenges I used to have at WWE 24/7 with guys that we did not have Legends deals with, didn't have great contracts with, and we couldn't use them for anything. And it was over time. Like, I remember the day Bret Hart showed up at the studio, and we are like, this is great. Number one, it's great that him and Vince were mending fences, and we were going to be able to count Bret as part of continuity. But it meant we could start interviewing Bret for network specials, for DVDs, for Hall of Fame packages. It's the other side of that art and artist, that if there's an underlying disagreement with the performer, and I will continue to use the Marvel analogy because that's kind of the best analogy for what we're going to talk about today. If Marvel is mad at Chris Evans, it's not like Captain America as a character just goes away forever. Right. In WWE world, when they're mad at the underlying guy because they sued them for CTE, guess what? You don't get Demolition anymore.
Yeah. So it's just, when you think about, and even before we're going to talk about this next topic with Hogan, but you think about what he's done in like the past couple of months. He's picked a side. Obviously, like, politics are politics, but you pick a side, and that's going to be a polarizing decision by somebody. And then on top of it, too, the comments he made regarding Kamala Harris coming up and certain things like that, where it's just kind of
really.
Stop
you and just point out it's Kamala Harris, because there are people who they're going to hear the Kamala thing, and they're going to be. It's the same thing. It's like the nuclear.
Oh, okay. Well, so those comments made and taking a political stance, it does divide his brand. I mean, some people won't care, but other people will. And I think him putting himself out there like this, and then on top of it, what he just said, is another aspect of like, and how is his brand going to damage the WWE brand? Or ultimately, is it going to, his brand itself is so big that, and so, what's the homemade name or whatever, that you can forget all this stuff.
Again, people want to remember the Hulkamania Hulk Hogan. You know, I'm sort of in that right age range where Hulkamania was coming up when I was a little kid, and he was right alongside Spider-Man or Superman or He-Man on the toy shelves. He had a cartoon. He was every bit as real to me as they were when you're, 4, 5, 6 years old. So you believe in that character and you want to hold on to that idea of that character. Hogan, the person, trades on that quite a bit. And it's why I was surprised that he took a stance at the RNC, just because Terry Bollea being a Republican doesn't totally shock and surprise me. He lives in Florida and you get a lot of great tax benefits. He's probably in a bracket that's truly going to benefit from some of those policies. But anytime anyone talks about Bollea, the man, it's usually he's kind of a laid back hippie stoner. Like he built his Hogan hangout. He owns his own bar. He gets to be the god of that little area. and I've used this comparison before and I've talked about it. Pete Rose, fellow wrestling icon.
How about it?
How about it? Had a restaurant here in Boca Raton where he did his radio show from, and in that little world, in that restaurant, he would come in and he was God. Like, people are swarming and they are treating him as if it was the heyday of his baseball career. So I can understand why you want to insulate yourself. You want to create that little cocoon and say, this is my world. This is where I'm at. Love me within here. So Hogan giving people another reason not to embrace and enjoy him is surprising, because he had one of the most cataclysmic falls in the history of just sort of celebrity made up a word. The reality show that he had on VH1 didn't do great for him. It made him and the family look a little kooky. The stuff that obviously occurred with his son, with the unfortunate car accident there, that was a huge blemish. The very ugly, very bitter, very public divorce was problematic for Hogan. The sex tape. I made this joke when I was talking about this with Dan St. Germain. I'm like, it's kind of like if you've had a monkey's paw and you wish to be rich, and it's like, okay, here's how you're going to be rich. You're going to make a sex tape with your friend's wife. It's going to leak and go public. You're going to sue that company on the backing of Peter Thiel. You're going to get paid a boatload of money, but then everyone's going to find out you're racist. Like, this feels like a bad English paper that a high school kid would have written. And he somehow tried to overcome that. It was a very ugly moment, but it was a private ugly moment that he didn't intend for it to go public, that he was going to hold himself out as being racist and bigoted. That has now come out in the last couple months with some of the comments he's made about Kamala Harris that have truly upset people, and they feel like, okay, this really is who that guy is. But Hogan has continued to weather the storm, and I'm sure when he was on Logan Paul's show, knowing he had such a huge platform, he was going to mind his P's and Q's, and he was going to be very precise with his language, Mr. D'Angelo.
Not quite. No,
Damn it.
Didn't really happen. I guess they must have talked. I haven't listened to the full episode, but they must have touched upon his controversies back in the day, and he happened to mention, "Hey, if Chris Benoit can do the crap he did, and the fans still love him, why not me? They're forgiving. I have made some major mistakes. They're very, very forgiving." And then one of our working stiff cohorts, Scott Chaplin, also mentioned something he said about Nancy Benoit as well, which is not very appealing. Robert. Yeah, not a good look.
I don't like to talk about the Benoit stuff ever, if I can help it. Having worked with Chris, it's a very unsettling feeling just to know that was a guy you were in a room with, you've had conversations with, you've talked about families with, and what he did. I've talked to a number of wrestlers who were there at that time who knew Chris. We all kind of have that same, there's a very uncomfortable feeling with it. To be flippant and to say, if he did the crap he did, it's not he got busted for a DUI. All right. It's not like he said something off color. He murdered his family.
Yes.
To try to minimize what Hogan did by saying, well, at least I didn't do that. It's sort of like, it's the Hitler defense. It's the idea of, sure, what I did is unconscionable. What I did is terrible. But compared to Hitler, I'm not as bad. The second part of that sentence, and this is the lawyer in me, and maybe I'm confused. I've been doing this show now for almost a year. I've been active on social media with my WWE Creative-ish account since 2010. I've been a wrestling fan since the early 80s. At no point in time do I remember us all getting together as a large collective and saying, hey, we forgive you, Chris.
Yeah.
We get it. Like, you made a mistake, you had a bad day, but that WrestleMania 20 main event was so good, we're going to overlook what you did to your family, and we forgive you. I would ask what Hogan's smoking, but we're all pretty aware of what Hogan's smoking. But like, what the hell is he thinking?
Look, I was a huge Chris Benoit fan. Like during the
Like,
WCW days, moving into it, and then up until the tragedy happened, and like you have to. I mean, it's how do you comprehend something like that? Something as extreme, violent, and horrible and tragic as that. And you know, what people do is they don't. They completely write him off. I've seen a lot of fans still appreciate the work that he did in the ring. He was never ever forgiven about what was going on with this stuff, and that's across the board from a public standpoint. Now, some fans are really rabid and they'll give their opinions and whatever, but from like a overall wrestling fan perspective and industry perspective, no, it's always going to be a horrible subject, and there's no forgiving that happens with a huge fan base like this. So Hogan's really off base. And Robert, it kind of goes back to what you were saying about Hogan having his own kind of lifestyle down in Florida, having that own beach shop and things like that. I think it just you create this own bubble for yourself, and that's a very small bubble from a geographical and figurative standpoint. So him being in there, he might think he's a little Teflon and has the freedom to say what he wants, and people will have this vision of him because he gets all this adulation at his bar that he's at all the time. And so maybe he thinks he's a little bit Teflon, but this is not a good comment. Really poorly in poor taste, and yeah, just it's another strike against Hogan, brother.
It's an odd defense for him to try to take. He is a guy who, at the end of the day, wants to be beloved.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that. He's not unlike the man he introduced at the convention, Donald Trump, who wants to be adulated, loved, embraced by people. Hogan thinks he can still trade on what he accomplished in the 80s and 90s, and it's going to erase a lot of this stuff. And he wants the fans to accept him. He wants that love. He wants to still feel like the Hulkster, and what he has there is very much an echo chamber. And we see that existing in politics on both sides, where if you just talk to people who think the same as you do and listen to the stuff that only is going to support your own opinion, you're never going to grow. You're never going to change. And I'm trying very hard not to turn this into a Tony Khan thing of being like, hey, maybe once in a while when Cornette's being critical of what you're saying, maybe there's a grain of truth here. Maybe when I'm saying what I'm saying, it's not just taking shots at you. But in Hogan world, it very much is. He thinks he's so much in the right. And the idea of, well, if wrestler fans forgave Benoit for what he did, they're definitely going to forgive me for my little faux pas. Let's move on to happy. Let's move on to the power of positivity. I'm all about positivity. Look, yeah, that was yesterday's stuff. It's a new day.
It is a new day.
Yes,
Robert.
it is.
It's a big new day. So let's talk about Odyssey Jones.
Damn it. That was one where I'm so thankful. When we talked about Odyssey Jones yesterday, I timestamped that.
You did, right? You did.
I said, here's what time it is that we are recording this in case you go and listen to this in the future. As of now, we don't know anything. So I'm talking about the information that I have in front of me. Here, about 24 hours later, kind of have some information, Dom.
Kind of have a little bit of information. According to Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful, friend of the show, Odyssey Jones.
Your Biffle?
Yes, my Biffle. Odyssey Jones was removed from WWE television when domestic violence allegations came to light. Fightful has learned. We've not heard of an arrest or charges being pressed in relation to the situation. We've reached out to WWE for comment as well as clarification on his status. Talent has not been informed of the situation. So, Robert, there was some posts made on social media throughout that somebody captured and did a little video of people commenting about him being a domestic abuser and all this stuff. Looks like WWE went and did some investigating, found something out, and decided to cut ties immediately. So no more Odyssey Jones.
A couple things to unpack here. First of all, I saw the thing where it was one Twitter account that was posting this. I don't think that carries a tremendous amount of weight, and sort of here is why. Given the number of people that I have that follow me on social media, which is I wasn't trying to humble brag there. It was more just like I see a lot.
Do it, Robert.
There was a person who tweeted me every day for like a month and a half straight to a bunch of other accounts, including me. It was a picture of Alexa Bliss with a black eye. And they were alleging that that Triple H had hit Alexa Bliss and was covering this, like real crazy, like tinfoil hat kind of stuff.
Wow.
The fact that WWE probably got some form of truly credible information, that they looked into this, they got credible information, and when they received that information, my hope is that they immediately acted upon it, because Odyssey Jones was he was not at TV last week.
Mm-hmm.
He was very prominently featured the week before. He was in, obviously, a major storyline. Wasn't on last week, and then this week, quietly removed from the superstar page and ultimately summarily fired. So it feels like we haven't gotten any of the information from your boy Sean Ross Sapp that they took the appropriate steps. They received credible information and they acted accordingly. Again, art and artist becomes very difficult because the New Day is a stable that has been so wonderfully protected by their own doing since day one.
Right.
And I was very fortunate that at the very early onset of the creation of the New Day stable, I had a hand in being able to talk with Xavier Woods and kind of think it through. And one of the things that they were really focused on, because they debuted as heels.
Right.
And they were just attacking folks. And people kept thinking they were the new Nation of Domination.
Right.
And one of the first people they went up attacking was Titus O'Neil. And there's the very first picture I ever posted on my Twitter account, when I wouldn't post anything otherwise, was Woods asked me to post. It was a picture of an arrows pointing to them standing over Titus O'Neil and saying, "Not Titus," to explicitly say, like, this is not just African-American athletes and that's it. Like, it's no, we believe in the three of us and we are a group. The fact that we all happen to be people of color is coincidental. We see ourselves as a brotherhood, as a group, and we're protective of it. As heels, as baby faces, and they always said they were never going to break up. That was going to be they were going to be the first stable to go from beginning to end and not split. So the fact that we were telling this story of even teasing that there was going to be a breakup, and the fact that this was the first time a new party was brought in to the New Day circle, and then for this to happen really makes it very, very sad, very uncomfortable, and makes it so tricky for WWE to, for lack of a better word, cast people. And going back to the Marvel well with domestic abuse accusations, you look at what happened with Jonathan Majors.
Yeah.
He was cast as Kang. He was going to be the big heel, and the face of the upcoming phase of Marvel. And due to the domestic abuse charges that were filed against him and the results of the court, like, they had to remove him, and then the character goes away. They throw out those Marvel movies that they were building. It's unfortunate because friend of the show Michael Waldron, who also writes Heels, was going to be scripting those Marvel films. He's out in that role. So you really have to have a sense of trust in who you are bringing in and who you are going to put on TV and put this huge machine behind you. So the Odyssey Jones piece, it's a very unfortunate story. It's a very unfortunate, will be an unfortunate footnote in the history of New Day, but I will cautiously, hesitantly say good job on the part of WWE for acting in what feels like a very swift and decisive manner when they received this information.
I wanted to follow up too. That's the way to handle it from a public standpoint, and how you really can't make a connection when it comes to that stuff. But would you say they handled it well from the aspect of, what are you going to do? Just you kind of just completely dispose the storyline. Would you have done it something different from a storyline perspective, or is this really the only option they kind of had in a lot of ways?
What makes me think is that this was a fast-moving train was when the rumors came out about Odyssey Jones. Xavier Woods had tweeted out, like, I had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
So it made it feel like, oh, is this a storyline? Are we trying to work the smarts a little bit? So I don't think that Woods had this information. I don't think anybody really had this information. I think they kept this very close to the chest. The fact that I know that part of the report had said that there's no knowledge of an arrest or charges being filed. We don't know the whole story of what's going on here, but I think WWE erred on the side of caution and just, this is what we're hearing. This feels credible to us. We're good. We're done. There was the kid that they had in NXT, or they were going to sign to NXT, whose name is I want to say his last name was Ferrari, and like news came out about him, and he was instantly gone. There are some folks like Gable Steveson had allegations around him for a while, and they kept him, and they constantly got hammered and criticized for it. So given everything going on with Vince, everything going on with Janelle Grant, the very public way in which they are now transitioning over to Netflix, they are going to mind their P's and Q's, and they're going to act above reproach.
Yeah, absolutely, Robert. Absolutely. Let's talk a little positive stuff. We got a go-home show this tonight on the Dynamite. Only 3 matches announced.
That's some restraint on the part of Tony Khan.
Right? Wow. How about that?
Well, we're gonna reset. We're gonna, in the last 5-6 minutes or so, we're gonna talk a little bit of actual pro wrestling on this. But Dom, before we get a chance to talk pro wrestling,
yes.
look, we are fans of all sorts of sports. You're wearing your Pittsburgh Pirates hat right there. I am not wearing my Gator hat at the moment. It's in the other room. I would go and grab it along with my Gator shirt, my Gator shorts, my Gator sweatshirt, my Gator blanket. It's an unhealthy obsession. But what I'm going to be worrying about this weekend is who my quarterback's going to be, and when he's in there, is he going to throw for more than 300 yards? How's my receivers are going to do? Are they going to finally be catching some touchdowns, or are we just going to be counting on breakaways? If you guys check out DraftKings Pick 6, the newest way to compete against others and play fantasy football to win cash with DraftKings. This is really, really simple. You do not have to be an expert. You don't have to be on Around the Horn. You don't have to be the next Tony Kornheiser on PTI. All you got to do, you pick a player and you choose if they'll have more or less of a stat, like yards, touchdowns, catches, and more. Get your picks right and you'll win cash. Download the new DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code RUMOR. That's code RUMOR for new customers to play $5 and get $50 in Pick 6 credits guaranteed. Plus, you get 1 month of NFL Plus Premium on us. It's on Rumor and Innuendo. Offer expires September 19th only on DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 years or older. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 is not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos. 1 per new customer. Reward issued as $50 in non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 6 months. NFL Plus Premium offer available only to new and former NFL Plus subscribers. Additional NFL Plus Premium terms at NFL.com/terms. I have this teed up for this weekend. Maybe as we get closer to the end of the week, I'll tell you where my picks are at, so you can really see if I cash in there. And Dom, if I hit, I'm retiring. I'm done.
You're done. The show's over, guys.
Give me some cash. I'm going to use it this weekend. It is in the door, out the door. I would say for fun stuff, but most likely it's back to school stuff for the kids. They're always coming back with, hey, we need this. But on top of NFL games, on top of college football, on top of family time this weekend, there's a dang pay-per-view, and we got to get through the go-home for the Dynamite.
The Dynamite, indeed.
Dynamite.
The Dynamite. We have Okada versus Kyle Fletcher for the Continental Championship. Should be a great match. Continental Championship is basically forgettable, but what do you expect? Just a definitive win here? Kyle Fletcher, we've been singing the praises of up and down, and we're ready to see more of an badass Okada moving forward too. So what's your expectations for tonight with these two, Robert?
So it's an outright title match, correct? No eliminator match, no tournament.
No eliminator match.
No glory hole competition. It's a little strange just because Kyle Fletcher, who we both think the world of, has not been really on a winning streak of late. We saw
No.
MJF straight up murder ball him. We saw Ricochet beat him. So your reward for losing is you get a Continental title match. That being said, we know the match is going to be incredible. Kyle Fletcher is a great young talent that you can plug in there with folks, and that they trust him to go and be like, hey, go have Ricochet's first match. Go give us an MJF match. Go give us an Okada match. Yes, those are pretty idiot-proof opponents, but they know, like, this kid is going to get a chance to shine. And I think it's a really interesting position for him. It kind of feels like he's eating Takeshita's lunch a little bit. Like, Takeshita was sort of the young blue chipper next Randy Orton. With Takeshita overdoing the G1 for a while, this feels like this is Kyle Fletcher's time to shine.
Yeah, it does. And, the proof is in the pudding. He's doing a really great job. You think about Magnum TA even mentioned how explosive he is in his attacks and everything like that, and how that really enhances what a talent's doing in the ring. So if you're getting noticed from legends like that, then you're doing something right. So this should be a fun match. I'm excited to see Okada and how he kind of portrays himself. If he walks between comedy and seriousness, we'll see how it goes.
Look, I hope that Kyle Fletcher puts on a good showing here. It's like you don't want him to fall into that role that they do with like Lance Archer, or on the women's side they always use like Nyla Rose, just gets like fed to people in meaningless matches. What else is on Dynamite?
Speaking of, Nyla Rose will be taking on Mariah May for the AEW Women's Championship.
Wait, it's for the title?
It's for the title tonight. Mm-hmm.
Of course it is. Because why wouldn't it be? Nyla Rose, top talent, absolutely earned it. Win after win, she's unstoppable. Yeah, it's because she's got imposing size and is beatable. She's the Lance Archer of the women's division.
Yeah, that's it. And it's just weird to have a title match before. Is she having a title match, Mariah May, here at All Out? Maybe not. Maybe that's why they're doing it. I don't know.
I don't know. They haven't built up a challenger to immediately forget yet.
It's a good point. This one might not be forgettable. Now the titles aren't on the line for this one. It doesn't say, at least according to Fightful. Here.
There's a match that doesn't have a title on the line. Perfect.
Possibly, Robert. I wouldn't rule it out yet, but Pac, Claudio, and Wheeler Utah are going up against Will Ospreay, Orange Cassidy, and Kyle O'Reilly. So, trios action. Very strange considering, obviously Pac and Will Ospreay are going one-on-one. Pac's been portrayed as a heel, but the Blackpool Combat Club, particularly Claudio and Wheeler, have been portrayed as baby faces. We last saw them all together celebrating with Bryan Danielson after his title win, and now Ospreay and Cassidy and Kyle O'Reilly, all those baby faces going up against these guys. So it's just it's a cool match, but it's also a little bit of a head scratcher, I think.
This has been their kind of in case of emergency break last for quite a while, which is multi-man tag matches that don't really mean a lot, but can eat up 2 segments of a show. Fine. I get it. We want to tease the Ospreay Pac thing. It does muddy the water because the crowd of late had been, the Blackpool Combat Club were baby faces. Wheeler Yuta was the babyface sacrificial lamb to Swerve Strickland. Claudio was the guy going up against Okada, and we were supposed to be supporting him. It's very confusing what they're doing. It's like Moxley comes back last week and doesn't even acknowledge the Blackpool Combat Club, doesn't acknowledge that Bryan Danielson has won the world title, and then nobody else acknowledges it either. Like, at no point was Bryan like, it's kind of weird that Moxley just showed up earlier and he wants to go talk to Darby. Okay. Look, they've put together last week some good matches going into All Out. We know that Hangman and Swerve, you don't really need much to get people excited for that now. MJF and Danny Garcia said all the words every human being has ever said in the history of time and space in one segment. Lord knows we definitely don't need any more Danny Garcia promos ever. He somehow made getting beat up in front of his mom seem unsympathetic, but cool. And then you've got the Ospreay Pac match, which we're setting up with the 6-man, and then Jack Perry and Bryan Danielson, which is
not a bad card.
Short window. Those are 4 very, very strong matches. I would have thought that there'd be one or two more. I don't know if, and nothing was announced on Collision, right? I didn't watch Collision.
I think there might have been something actually, but
I'm
going
gonna
to
look up All Out 2024 on the Google machine, since we're not live, and I don't have people chiming in being like, these are the matches that got it. Oh, there's 6 matches. Whoa.
Ooh.
Okay. There's 2 other matches that have been. The Willow Nightingale Chris Statlander match, which we did know about.
Yep.
They did talk about that. And apparently it's Mercedes Moné versus Hikaru Shida. So there's your building up somebody randomly to beat.
Yeah, is she a 3-time
Didn't she already beat Shida? I don't know.
I can't remember, to be honest. I know Britt Baker did. So, but
Who?
I think. Oh, Britt Baker?
Never heard of her.
Oh, okay. Well,
look, people can forgive what Chris Benoit did. They can't forgive what Britt Baker did. She said mean words, erased from existence.
Completely gone.
You know who's not erased from existence despite all the THC floating around in his brain? It's Rob Van Dam.
That's right.
Rob Van Dam somehow has the mind of a steel trap.
He really does. He can get this.
He's really defying the odds on this, man.
So you can check that out every Monday at 4:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on rvdtv.com or wherever you get your damn podcasts. So be sure to give us 5 stars, like the 5-star Frog Splash. Help us out. Get the word out about the podcast. One of my favorites to do. And
what about this show, Dom? Why aren't you telling them to go get 5 stars to the? You're putting over, like, Rob Van Dam needs the rub. like he needs us. Like, he's sitting there being like, oh, come on, man, I wish those guys would. Wish those guys. I don't know why I'm doing him as Norm Macdonald, but I am, and it's fine. Hey, I wish those guys would, say something nice about me. Help me out. Yeah, help me win the WWE and ECW title.
I don't think he knows the show even exists. So,
how does he not know that? Wait, do you not plug us on his show?
No, I don't.
God damn it, Dom. Like,
I guess I should, huh?
This is me telling on myself that I don't tune in to listen to the. I don't have that. I don't have that many hours in the day to go listen to other podcasts. I do try to catch the ones that are here on the Ad Free Shows network. Like, I'll listen to Bruce, I'll listen to Jim, and try not to be sad. I used to listen to Arn when it was just an audio podcast. I have not gone back and listened to. I've caught some of your live stream stuff with Rob.
Yeah.
But the fact that you aren't even plugging our show on his, and I give you like 7 to 10 minutes at the end. We hear all about Greg Gagne and Magnum. We hear about sometimes doing the socials for Click This with Kevin Nash. Get no reciprocity, no love. We even plug folks like Meanie comes on here. We let him talk about it. Kevin Kellum and his, Chicago radio greatness, and he gets to go see Pearl Jam and Wrigley. But here, us, no love. So you know what? We're done. Guys, go on your podcast app and don't go listen to Rob Van Dam's podcast. Don't go listen to Straight Talk with the Boss with Magnum and Greg Gagne. Don't go back and listen as he talks to Fonzie
tonight, 7 p.m.
7 p.m. Don't go listen to that. We should go to
OneTrueSportTV.com.
Yeah, well, OneTrueSportTV.com. Go check out Working Stiff with myself and Scott Chapman, of which Dom is our producer when he actually posts the show. And that's available on iTunes, Spotify, and the like, which is where you can get the audio version of this damn show. This show, so you can go back yesterday and go listen to me say all these great things about Odyssey Jones, take them out of context, and be like, what a jerk. What a jerk this guy is that he's like,
supporting him.
Good. Yes, good for him. Good for Hogan. But you can check us here every Monday through Friday at noon Eastern, usually live. Today, slightly not live, but it'll still be up there live. You'll all be there. We love you all. We're going to assume Johnny Disco and Dre Owens and Joseph Wade Walters, everybody was chiming in live, and the Wrestling Old Head and all those good folks that do it. It's a good time. You can catch it on a plethora of platforms, including the WWE Creative _ish X account, the SE Scoops X account, as well as on YouTube, on Rumor and Innuendo, ad-free shows, and Working Stiff. Dom, appreciate a little bit of the flexibility. Appreciate that we both are in our Easter finest here. So on behalf of Hulk Hogan's doppelganger, Dominic D'Angelo, I'm Robert Karpolis. Best of luck in your future endeavors.
Always timestamp, brother. Always timestamp, dude.